All right, I'm calling it. The next decade for extreme sports is going to look extremely different, and today I'm going to make 10 educated predictions on what I think they will be. One quick disclaimer, all extreme sports fit into this video. However, sometimes motorsports are going to fit in better, and then off-roading and rock crawling and rock bouncing are going to fit even in better than motorsports. But all extreme sports are in this in some way, shape, or form. Let's get into the video. I predict the electric vehicle and the electric motor is going to come in hard over the next 10 years. I think it's going to be popular for 3 to 5 when it's novel. And then I think pretty immediately people are going to reject it and go right back to gasoline and diesel engines, whatever segment of motorsports you're in. However, I do think what the technology of EV is going to bring will be here to stay. For instance, AI shock technology, AI engine and transmission management, and all the things that are going to come along and be developed through technology are going to stay, especially tech inside the vehicle that is going to come. So again, to recap, I believe there will be a big boom of electric motorsports, and then as quickly as they come, they're going to die off, but leave a lot of the secondary technologies that came with it. I predict that fitness is going to become a huge part of motorsports, but extreme sports abroad. Obviously, in subsegments like motocross, fitness is a huge part of it because the guys are. It's one of the most physically demanding sports. But when you get into more forms of racing, you don't see the most fit people in and around it. And again, motorsports doesn't have to be just racing. It can be just enjoying the outdoors. It could be going to NASCAR events. It could be going to drag racing events. It could be going to King of the Hammers. I think over the next decade, health and wellness in all of society is going to continue to get larger and larger and larger. And I think it's going to spread like a positive virus into our space. And people are going to realize the better you take care of yourself outside of the sport, the better you're going to enjoy being inside the sport. I predict that brands are going to move from hard-selling products to building communities that mean something. Right now, specifically in my segment of motorsports, off-road, everybody is selling a product and trying to make more money, and I believe the brands that are going to prevail over the next decade are going to be building community around their product, and the sales are simply going to follow. Again, these are trends going on in the world, but I heard Ian Johnson say off-road in our world will always be about 5 years behind everybody else. And I just personally think that over 10, maybe even 15 years, this is going to be what's true. You're already seeing really small subtleties of this. For instance, Warn does the yearly Warn ride where they go and hit Windrock in August, and other things like that. Or I just think that I think that is absolutely going to prevail, and the brands that do not create community around them and their products are simply going to fail to brands that do. I predict that we are going to see a one-stop shop for all extreme sports. Basically, the Amazon retailer of action sports. Now, this is a pretty out there prediction because Amazon already exists. It may be in each niche. There's going to be an off-road Amazon, and then an extreme sports Amazon, a motorsports Amazon. And there already are some things like that, but right now you can't log on to one place and just get everything. And I believe that because at Busted Knuckle, you can call up and order Radflow shocks and Trey there will drop ship you the shocks from Radflow, and you don't even talk to Radflow. So I think whoever can create a big enough platform and then become the one-stop shop for it is going to really prevail. I think we'll see that over the next 10 years. I predict that we are going to see some... This is more specifically in off-road. I think we're going to see some smaller creators break out and become really large in the space. We have some really big names in motorsports, and then we have so many micro creators. I think that's the even flow of how influencing has gone. But I think we're going to see some really big creators that, similar to the point earlier, are going to build community throughout their brand, and they're just simply going to prevail. And people that, when they're in front of the camera, they're thinking about what can I give, not what can I take. I think so many people right now are asking and not asking, they're what can I take, what can I take, how many views can I get? And if they would flip the perspective around and just give everything they can to people, I think that they would do a lot better. And I think that is where we're heading. I think we're going to see some of the smaller micro creators become the absolute biggest names in the sport, and then in motorsports, and then branch out into some mainstream pop culture. I predict that we're going to see extreme sports go more mainstream. I think that the typical run-of-the-mill sports will always be big. I know football will always be big, because who doesn't love football? But I think we're going to see at least some segments go larger. King of the Hammers has only been around for 20 years. Yeah, it's actually, I think it started in 2007. It's been around like 19 years. 20 years, I think, for sure now. I think we just had our 20th anniversary. But we're just so early on in this, specifically off-road, but also all extreme sports. In motorized sports, I think that we're going to see it get even larger and larger. And I think similar to how we have F1 over internationally being like the biggest motorsport of all time, it's so watched, I think we're going to see something over here, mainly in America, become really, really huge. And I think Ultra 4 absolutely has the potential to do it. We just need more viewership, and everything else will follow. But I think that the technology they're implementing to track the rigs and to videotape the races, I think, is getting bigger and bigger. And when you look at the growth of King of the Hammers, I mean, what more is there to say? I predict UTVs are going to continue to rule the next decade. I think that there will be the eves and flows of them coming up and down, but I thought 10 years ago we kind of hit a high and we were going to start to see things go back to normal, and I couldn't have been more wrong. And I think we're going to continue to see machines get better and better and better, and probably more affordable. Maybe the prices will go up, but you'll be able to buy more machine for less dollar. You're going to have all this technology included, all this strength, all this horsepower. And, I think you're going to be able to buy a machine with 35s from the factory if you can't already do that. I think UTVs are going to dominate the next 10 years of motorsports when you look at the racing aspect and the recreational aspect. I don't see how they don't. Now, to piggyback off the last point, I predict that the price of UTVs are going to make such a full circle to what full body and full size rigs did, that I believe they're going to get to a point where if you're going to go enjoy off-road, it's pretty equal to decide between whether you want a side-by-side or a full-bodied rig. Now, that doesn't mean you could get a side-by-side for the same price as a top-of-the-line Ultra 4 car. Not what I mean. But what I mean is, if you're going to spend $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 on a brand new side-by-side, because I believe that's where we're headed for the top-of-the-line stuff, or you could go buy a used JK or JL by then, for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 and do the modifications you want. I think that the playing field is going to be leveled, and there will be some novelty to going back and wheeling a full-size rig. I also think there's going to be, on the lower budget of things, there's going to be a resurgence in cab trucks and low-budget full-size rigs. People going out and having fun with full-size rigs again, because there's going to be so many good vehicles with so many good drivetrains that nobody wants, that are 20-year-old vehicles. And then shock technology, tire technology, axle technology is going to be so good for the price that it actually, with side-by-sides getting so much more expensive, and then all this great technology getting less expensive for the value you're getting, I think it's going to re-justify having a full-size rig. And there's going to be some novelty there, and we're going to see a bit of a full-size resurgence over the next 10 years. And I think that we're going to see guys get back into full sizes and then start buggying them out, and the whole cycle is going to repeat, where things just get crazier and crazier on the full side again, and then they'll swing back to side-by-sides and ATVs. I predict, this is very specific to the East Coast, but I predict as the East Coast gets more and more populated and more people flood into our riding areas, and the East Coast off-roading becomes more mainstream, we're going to have more hooligans in the space, and I think we're going to see more and more crackdowns on laws and rules off-roading, more regulation off-roading, more populated riding areas, and then less places to ride, which is, I don't think riding on the East Coast is going to go away, but I think we're going to see a diminishing amount of riding on the East Coast, and I think the West Coast is going to become just an absolute hot spot for people to move to enjoy the outdoors in general and riding in general. And I think that the days of wheeling on the East Coast are going to become like, oh, I remember that. The same way people that grew up like me and enjoyed wheeling in the 90s and 2000s in Teleco, the same way it's changed and just become a lot different. I think we're going to see that more intensely, and the Wild West is going to become the kind of the last front for off-roading, as far as going out in the woods and having a good time. Last but not least, I believe that AI is going to have a profound effect on motorsports, things that I can't even think of. And I know that's very broad, but I think we're going to have a profound effect in race timing. I think we're going to have a profound effect in videography of these sports. I think we're going to have a profound effect in live coverage thanks to AI. And I think it's going to have a profound effect on people getting outdoors and enjoying stuff. Motorsports is a very outdoorsy thing, and I just think that as the world becomes more and more technologically advanced, I just think segments of life that are less AI integrated, such as motorsports and extreme sports, I think are going to become more and more prevalent. And it's so broad. I hate to be so broad like that, but to get a little more specific, I think connectivity is going to be insane. I think trail mapping and things like that are going to become more advanced, and I just think that overall AI is going to have a profound effect on extreme sports. But I'm talking to myself in the future. When it does, this is a weak argument to say I knew what I was talking about, because I really don't. But me personally, I've been working on having a much more positive outlook on artificial intelligence. And mainly thanks to Gary Vaynerchuk. I've been listening to his stuff a lot, and he just has a very positive outlook on it, and I can't help but to imagine what it's going to do for our community.